Hello folks, welcome to Canal Channel Jose. Today we're going to give you an idea how we replace the upper and lower ball joint on both sides of this E-350, and this might apply for the F-250, F-350, and if any of your vehicles from 92 to 2014 look like this is going to give you an idea how you can replace those ball joints. So for this task, we have to lift one side, take care of one side, lower that side, and take care of the other side. So we did it one tire at a time. And what we did is we bought the ball joints, which is different part numbers for the upper and lower ball joint. And we're going to show you that. And once we started doing this procedure, and to do this procedure, you're going to have to press them out. They're not screw on, they're pressed in. And you can you can either use a tool or you can use a press. So for our job, we're going to be using a hydraulic press to make our job easier. And we're going to just give you an idea how with that job it can be done if you want to do it and save money, or if you decided to take it to a mechanic shop. So with that said, let's jump right into it. So here are the part numbers made by Duralast, and this is what the person brought us to do the replacement. And the part number is here for the lower ball joint, and this is the upper ball joint. So there's two of these needed, one for the driver, one for the passenger side. Two of these needed, one for the passenger side and one for the driver side. So that's just sharing the info of the ball joints for this truck. So to replace the ball joints on this van, what we're going to be doing is we have lifted the van, set it on a jack stand, and we have taken off the passenger side wheel off so we can start working on this side. And what you do to one side is the same procedure to the driver's side, but we're going to start on the passenger side and show you how this job is done. So to replace the ball joints on this truck or vehicle, what we're going to have to do is we have to remove the braking system first, the caliper, then the rotor, and then we're going to start disconnecting the other components so we are able to disconnect the spindle off to press out and press in the new ball joints. And we're going to show you how we do this step by step. To remove this caliper, we have to remove this 21 millimeter bolt right here, and there's one more in the bottom. And here's the other one in the bottom right there. And what I have done is I have turned my wheels so I can expose more of the bolts where I'm going to be working at and be able to work out here and not all the way tucked in there. So now that I have loosened the bolts for the caliper, I'm going to take off this 8 millimeter bolt right here for the sensor. And that way, when I put this caliper right on the coil, it gives me the play so I can hang it from there and this wire doesn't get stretched out. Now that I have taken off that bolt or the sensor from the spindle, we can take off this caliper from here and put it right on the coil and hang it from there. And I'm using regular wire to hang up this caliper right in there. So now that I have hanged this caliper right on the spring with those wires, we can start taking this cover off to expose the mechanism that releases this rotor from the spindle. We have to take this off, remove some locking device and a nut, and then this will come off. So now that we remove the cover, we clean a little bit to expose the cotter pin that goes through here to remove it. Then we remove this locking device here that prevents that nut that holds all this in place, so we can remove it and then extract our rotor. So now to remove that nut, we're going to be using a 27 millimeter socket. That's what it works for us. So that shouldn't be too tight in there. We're just going to spin it off so we can get a washer and then the whole rotor out. So now that we have taken all the nut and the washer off, there's the bearing, the outer bearing. We pull it out. And then what's going to be left is going to be the rotor. with the inner bearing and the inner seal. Now here's the spindle. We clean it completely off from the old grease. So now that we have removed the rotor and we have a clean spindle, we gotta remove this ABS sensor, which we have to remove this 8mm bolt and this other 8mm bolt, so we can put this aside and take the spindle off. So now that we got the ABS sensor out of the way, I just put it out there towards the inside. And now to take off the spindle, we have to disconnect this tie rod end from here. And then we have to remove this bolt right here for the upper ball joint. And then we have to remove that nut right there. We gotta remove the cutter pin from that one and this one to be able to remove them. So let's start by removing this tie rod end. And for us to remove this bottom nut out of this, we're going to be using our impact gun with a 21mm socket. That's what works for us. So what I would do is, if you know you're going to be doing this replacement or taking out this component, I would start adding WD-40 a day before. So this one will start coming off or getting lubricated with the WD-40. So your job is easier. Now that we have loosened that nut, we just leave it there, and then we can tap here with a hammer so this spits it out with a vibration and the hits. Now that it has loosened it, we take off the nut and then take it off completely. So now the only 2 points are this spindle is attached to this suspension is by the ball joint. So we take out the bottom one and then the upper one to be able to get it out of there. So now I'm going to start by loosening this bolt right here, which is a 15mm in my case with an impact gun. I'm just going to loosen it and then come over here and take this nut completely off. And you're going to see that it's going to loosen it from this part right here. It's going to split more. Now we remove the cutter pin from this one and we start removing this nut. Now to remove or loosen that nut, we're going to be using a close end wrench, 1.1 inch. And as you can see, this was pretty easy to take off because I've been lubricating this for 2 days. So that way I can penetrate the threads and make my job easier on taking these components off because they've been there for such a long time. So my recommendation is start lubricating these days prior of taking them off. So to take out this spindle now with everything loose, I'm gonna tap here and I'm gonna tap right there on the suspension, and be careful not to drop this end because this is gonna be the threads and you're gonna damage them. So control the weight as it drops when it releases from that point. So we're gonna have to tap right there to spit it out. The upper one might be loose already, but the bottom one is gonna be the trouble. So I would recommend you using your safety glasses anytime you're using impact guns or anything at this point, because I'm tapping into that control arm. I'm going to be able to bounce particles all over the place. So I'm going to put my safety glasses for this. So as you can see, this bolt, we never took it off completely. We just loosened it to split or open the gap here for the ball joint on the upper ball joint to release. But the bottom one was the trouble. That's why you spray WD-40 trying to penetrate along this metal and the ball joint. And because it's gravity, as soon as you tap it and it releases, it's just going to drop. That's why you want to control the weight. Here's the spindle. And to remove this ball joint, this is being pressed out, and this one as well. But this one, the bottom one, we have to remove that clip to be able to press it out. To remove that, we're going to be using our clip pliers to remove it. So in our case, we have our 20-ton press, and we're going to be using this to press those ball joints out and press the ball joints back in. So that'll be the best tool to use for this kind of scenario. And what I do whenever I can, I add some lubricant to help this job be easier. And here's the bottom ball joint out. And remember, you have to take off the clip to be able to press it out. Otherwise, you're going to have trouble. So now we have the two ball joints being pressed out. We have the new one for the bottom and the new one for the upper ball joint. So we're going to be pressing in the bottom ball joint first and then the upper ball joint, so we can use the opening on the top to press the bottom one in, and then we'll press the upper one at the end. We clean these surfaces so we have a clean area when we press in the new ones in. And make sure this sits straight with the spacer on the bottom so that side doesn't hit the press. Now I put my ball joint. I had to adjust the height of the press because it was too low at this point for pressing in the lower ball joint. So now we press that one. So now we have pressed the bottom ball joint in. So now what we do is we're going to be pressing in the upper ball joint in. And what we meant by leaving this one towards the end is because that way you can feed a rod or anything, so you can press this one all the way from out here through the opening of the upper one. So that makes the job easier for this one. So press that one in first and then press this one in. So there it is, the upper ball joint being pressed in, the bottom ball joint pressed in. So now what we have to do is put the clip for the bottom ball joint and put it back into the truck. And if those ball joints come with this grease cert, put them on. So now that we have both ball joints in with the grease cert, now we have protected this spindle with the rag with tape over it, because while we were working on this, you could damage this and you don't want to do that. So that's we protected this, and now we can start installing this into the truck. The old upper ball joint bolt, I'm going to take it off and put the new one that comes with the new ball joint. Now we can start installing the spindle. So one thing I can tell you is that when you're installing this ball joint, you want to make sure that the opening for the clip to go through is facing back to front or front to back, and that way you can install it and adjust it as you need, because it's facing inwards or it's going to be a little bit tougher. So that way you have a better chance of installing it right. And now this nut has become a 30 millimeter on the new ball joint. So now, before we do anything on up here, we want to tighten this nut completely, because this is the one that pulls everything up. So that way we can tighten this, and then we come up here to this bolt. One thing we're experiencing right now is that we want to tighten that nut with a 30 millimeter socket and a ratchet, but we can't fit it because the grease cert. So we're going to take that off. So don't put the grease cert until you have tightened that one, and it gives you the clearance to work on that. Now we have tightened that nut, cut a pin through, we bent it, and now we're gonna tighten this bolt, but we're gonna put a Loctite on it. We put a blue Loctite, medium strength. Now we tighten it completely. So now we can put the grease cert back in there before we put that tie rod in here. Now we can put our tie rod in from the steering column in here. We tighten it, we line it up, and we put the cutter pin through. We tighten it, line it up, and we put the cutter pin through. So now we grab our ABS sensor, make sure you clean it, might be dirty, and then you remove these, you take these 8 millimeter bolts, and if you want, you can add some Loctite to it to put the sensor right there where it needs to go. 8 millimeter bolts. Now that we have done that, we put our rotor back in. Now we uncover the spindle, we put some grease into it, and we slide on our rotor. So now we have re-greased our outer bearing. We throw some more grease in there. We put the outer bearing in, and we start sliding everything on in the nut and secure this point. Now we just put the cutter pin and set it. Now we just put the cover on. Now we clean the rotor from any grease or oils that are attached to the surface. So now we just let it evaporate, and then once we do that, we get our caliper, unhook it from the spring, put it over it where it needs to be, put the 2 bolts on, tighten them, and then we come over here and we put this bracket bolt on to this area where it needed to be with the 8 millimeter little bolt right here. So that way we can continue on putting the wheel on. So now that we have put the caliper right where it needs to be, we grab that two 21mm bolts, we put some Loctite on them, we put them on, and we tighten them to secure the caliper to the spindle. So now that we have put the caliper, put the two bolts in there with Loctite, we tighten them completely down. So now that we have tightened that structure into the spindle, we come over and we grab this ABS sensor. We take out the little bolt, or we put that 8mm bolt, and we tighten it down. That's the last thing we have to do. And there it is. This is how we replace the ball joints on this truck, and it has a lower and upper ball joint, but either one fits on both either side. Upper fits on either side, lower fits on either side. So what you do to the one side, you do to the other side. Well, folks, hopefully this video was useful and helpful how to replace the lower ball joints and upper ball joints on this Ford. And this is for a two-wheel drive, not a four-wheel drive. So if your system looks like this, it's going to help you or give you an idea what the procedure of replacing these ball joints is. And if you decide you do it yourself or you want to take it to a shop. So with that said, folks, for friends who are watching the video and haven't subscribed to our channel, please subscribe. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, share it. We'll see you soon with more videos here in el canal, El Chano Jose.